Let's begin. Siyata D'Shmayim, based the Chag HaShavos, second day of Shavuos, Yontif, Tavshin Chavav. So the Mishnah says, Chavivin Yisroel shenosam lehem kli chemda. Beloved Ayidin, that the Eibishter gave them a precious article, a precious vessel. And what's that? That's the Torah, the pasuk. The Mishnah continues, Shenema ki lekach toiv nosati lachem. The pasuk says in Mishnah, I've given you a good, lekach means teachings, instruction. Torah say my Torah, al tazoivu, do not forsake it. V'yesh gerus, and that's one a gerus the way it appears in Pirkei Avos. There is a gerus, the machzavitri v'oid and other sources, that adds detail. Namely, shenosan lahem kli chemda, what's this precious vessel? Shebay nivra ha'olam, with which the world was created. So l'chayda, it would appear that the two separate, the two girsayis are saying, not saying the same thing. The first one is saying the Torah, period. And the second, in defining the Torah, it's the Torah with which the world was created. But Rebbe says it's really the same inyan. Both girsas are really saying the same. Gam kasher and goysen atayv sheben nivra olam, even if we don't have that girsa defining the Torah by which the world was created, like the Alter Rebbe's girsa in the Siddur, as we see, we don't have these words. It's still the meaning is the same, because the Mishnah emphasizes the meaning of the words of the Mishnah. The Torah is described as a kli chemda, a vessel. Now, a kli, daika, means something that you use for something else. So what is that? Obviously, it means to create. Like Rashi says on the Mishnah, in defining kli chemda, says Rashi, kli gadol v'choshevo, the Torah is a great and significant and valuable keli, shebay nivra elam, and with which the world was created. Rashi continues, shenemar v'aya etzlei omun, the pasuk says, in Mishlei I was, Torah speaking, I was by him, by the Eibishter omun, and there are many meanings of the word omun, and one is, ombra Torah, Torah says, I was his professional, the vessels of his profession by which he fashioned and created the world. So even the Girsa that doesn't have these words, Shebay Nivra Elam, that's the meaning of the Kli Chemda, as Rashi explains in the Mishnah. Even the Pasuk says, the Mishnah in all Girsais brings the proof from Kilakach Toiv, a good portion I've given you. Kepidish Harav, the Batanur explains on the Mishnah, Shetoiv, what's the Reif in the Pasuk here that it's referring to? Or rather, what's the goodness here? Shetoiv Kayamaisa Bereshis. The Pasuk itself says the Batanura is saying this. The Lekach, which is Torah, is connected with Toiv. It's good, because what's good, Maisa Bereshis is good. Creation is good. Shenemar, about which the pasuk says, "Vayar elikim ki tov," and Hashem saw that it was good. The lekach, and lekach explains the batanura. I've given you a good lekach, a good. It could be. It's possible that the word lekach means teaching. It means takeaway. We say in English the takeaway instruction. It could be. I don't know. For lekach Torah la Torah, and lekach goes on Torah. Shenemar, about which. It says, Moishe Rabbeinu says, Yaref kamata likrim, may my instructions drip, come down like rain. So we see the Torah is lakach. So the Batanur looks like has the, I don't know which Girsa he has, but he concludes, this looks like it's the Rebbe's conclusion, that the summary of all of this is both Girsais, that the Torah, which is Hashem's, which is the lakach, the instruction, is kli chemda. It is a beautiful vessel. What is the vessel? Kli umnase, the vessel of his umnus, professions are not the right word, but Shabbai Nivra Eilam, with which he created the world, which is called Toiv. So in summary, looking at the top of the page again, even as we have the Girsa, Chavivin Yisrael Shenosalem Kli Chemda. Yidden are precious that Hashem gave them a Kli Chemda, a precious vessel. So already implied in the word vessel is it's used for the purpose of something else, which is to create, which is explicit in the Girsa of the Machzavitri. But our Girsa continues, as all of them do. Shenema kilakach toiv nasat, both of them do rather. Kilakach toiv nasat yelachem, I've given you a good portion, tarasi my Torah. So the Batanora emphasizes the toiv of description of Torah and the toiv of the description of Maaseh Bereshis. And Rashi on the Mishnah says, why is it a Kli Chemda? So whether it's explicit in the Mishnah or not, it's the intent of the Mishnah as explained by the Mefarshim, as we see in black and white, both in Rashi and Batanura. So that's the conclusion. The conclusion is that what's the preciousness? The Mishnah actually says, number one, there's two levels of preciousness. One that Hashem gave it, and one that He told him that He gave it. But here we're talking about this first stage. So what's the preciousness of the Torah? Its preciousness is that it's the Kli Chemda by which God creates the world, creation. That's the conclusion. We're clear? With the Girsa the Machzavitri, it's spelled out. Even with not, it's implied by the word Keli, and likewise Toiv, which is a reference to Maaseh Bereshis, as articulated by both Rashi and the Batanura. Yeah? Now comes the Shaila, v'tzarich lahavin. What's the praise of Torah? That it is the precious vessel by which Hashem created the world. Utensil, better word than vessel, utensil. What's the ikar of Torah? Not that it's the utensil by which God creates creation, but rather something far loftier, immeasurably loftier. And that is, it is God's delight, which God delights in. Like the Pasuk says, and I was, Torah speaking, shashuyim lefanov, a object of delight before him. And the diak, as Chassidus explains, is etzle before him. Because only God knows Torah. Kilikim hevin darka. These are paraphrasing psukim in Iyov, which Tateba quotes. Only God knows her ways, and it is concealed, but it's concealed from the eye of all living things. That's what Torah is, totally beyond creation. Only God alone knows understands her ways, the ways of Torah. So therefore, why is the Mishnah praising Torah that it's the utensil by which God created the world? Not its primary value. It's totally beyond creation. But yes, question's clear. Yes, but the question becomes much more difficult in light of Kuntesach and the Alter Rebbe that we just quoted, in light of Tanya. And expounded upon at length in Chassidus in general, and that is apir mavur bedach, in light of that which is explained in Chassidus, Divalekim Chayim, bepidish hakosov, voye etzloi omun, in explaining the pasuk that Torah describes itself as Hashem's omun. Again, many meanings. One, the meaning we have here is the tool of his trade, as it were. So on this pasuk, Chassidus brings as follows. It's a Gemara in Saita, which people are learning, those who learn Saita, Mamash right now, this daf. Right, these days. No, Mamash now. David Koras Divrei Torah b'Shem Zmiris, when David HaMelech described the Torah as a song in which he took comfort, during his persecution and his difficult days, as he says, Moshe Kosev in the pasuk in Kuf Yutes, Mir Yisrael Lichakecha, your laws are for me, songs, Amla Kadosh Baruch Hu. The Abisha said to him, David, Zmiris Karius Lahu, you call my Torah songs? And he was punished. He was punished. What was his punishment? Everybody remembers the Gemara. He's going to bring it here, I think. No, it doesn't go into the Pratim. Now, Rebbe goes in Tarichas in Tanya there. He forgot the halacha when the order was brought. He wanted from the house of Aminadav. One of his sons, Uzi, was put on a cart. It was put on a cart, not carried on the shoulder. He forgot that Ba'oran, Bakosef, he saw that on has to be carried only on the shoulders. And he forgot that he was punished. This Uzi died because the described in the psukim there. The cart, the oxen, veered off the way. So he went to straighten it. He touched the Oran, and he died. That was the punishment of David the Melech. The Gemara says in Saita, so you're calling it Zmidish, you forget something which even children know. Children know the pasuk that the Oran has to be carried on the shoulders. So he was punished. So what's the beer? Why did he call it Zmiris? Because he was praising Torah, the lower darga. Kvishi Shaychas La'ilim is Takas Torah is connected to the world. And he quotes in Efem Tanya, Shekol Chayes V'kiyim Ha'olam, that the whole life force of the world, here the world is threatening him, it's a golos. So was he misbaina, and that the whole world is bottled betachlis to Torah. So I took comfort in your Torah, that the whole Chayes and Kiyim Ha'olam, the whole life force, and the animation, the existence of the world, totally bediktuk echa bediktuk Torah is dependent on one nuance in the laws of Torah. You bring a korban, and if he has the wrong machshava, or the blood is spilled in the wrong place, just by a few millimeters, then the drawing down of godliness that elevates all the animals of the world and all the highest, each korban involved every aspect of creation, the inanimate. That's the salt and the wine and the flour, the vegetative, the tzimeach, and chai, the animal, the medaber. So the person elevated the entire cosmos, and if there's one detail that was off, it didn't happen. So this was his comfort that the world is insignificant and totally completely in Torah, so he's not to be nispal from and not affected by his travails. And through Torah elevates the world, and so on. So, and that's why he says Zmiris. Zmiris is Malashon, the Zambaritzim, to prune the thorns. The Torah cuts down, the Hell of Hester. Torah defeats the enemy, as it were. The enemy, the world presenting itself as a reality and as an enemy. He took comfort and sang. It's a tremendous thing. Your Torah is my song, was a song in my lips, even in his greatest sorrows of persecution and fleeing in Midbar Yehuda and had to hide in the desert. But that was his chet. But that was his chet. Chet, not as in, the word chet means really what? What's the literal of the word chet? As opposed to over in Pesha.
Inadvertent. By mistake?
I can't hear.
By mistake?
No, that's a shegig is, it could be, you're right, chatoim could be used, chot and chatas is brought for a shegig, but its translation means to miss the mark. Chet, it's a posek of it. That he's able to throw, David HaMelech, throw a stone and hit the hair mark, not miss it, not be off. So chet means not that it's a transgression, but it's off, it's imperfect. Tzaddikim are shaykh din of chatoyim, but not avonos and pshoyim, which are different degrees of intent. Pasha being the most deliberate, and often is an intent to do the sin, but doesn't want to hurt God, just doesn't think about God. But Pasha is even better or worse. He's thinking about God than he was. But anyway, just close brackets. This was his chet. He didn't praise the Torah with his primary Maila, that's believable, it's beyond creation completely. So much so, it's inappropriate to praise her at all. That Torah is the source, the creative force of all life. Compared to the believable, the infinite, the transcendent of Torah, it's this life force that creates and sustains creation is absolutely insignificant. So I've just strengthened that question. Right? That's why his punishment was that he forgot the halach of the shoulder. That you have to carry it on the shoulder. Because the shoulder is the chitzonius. And he was praising Torah with its external dimension. It's Abchinas Acharaya. And why must the Aron be carried on the shoulder? Because at the Mamshech, the Aron in Torah, which is higher than creation, into creation. Then the Pnimius should pervade the chitzonius. But here he was only focusing on the chitzonius itself. That's why the punishment was he forgot this halach. Or rather, his mistake, punishment. The consequence of his praising Torah was that he forgot this very halacha that emphasizes that you've got to connect the chitzonius and the pnimius and not focus on the chitzonius per se. You follow? One of the last starts off. David's miris carries low. Starts off quoting this Gemara inside. So having quoted that Gemara and the explanation in Chassidus, starting with Kuntas Achla, our question is now much stronger, correct? And therefore, we have even a greater question in our Mishnah. Why is the Mishnah praising Torah in his mashal kichemda? It's God's precious utensil, which created the world. He doesn't spell out, but the question is, David is chastised for it, criticized, and is punished, and the Mishnah uses this very as a praise. I don't know why he doesn't go that step further. I mean, he did. It's implicit, but why does Mishnah say this? Well, okay. Another question. The Mishnah prefaces by before talking about the Torah. The first thing is Chaviv Adam Shenivle B'Tzelem. The Mishnah says three things. Number one, great is a precious human being in general who's made in the image of God. Then Chavivin Yisroel. Then the second thing is precious Yidin Shnikra Bonim Lamok, which are called Yidin are called God's children. V'lacher is Moishe Chavivin Yisroel. The third thing is precious Yidin Shenas Alem Klichem, that were given the precious utensil. So Marakeshet of Hashayches there's obviously three. The things here are connected: humanity, Eden, and Torah. And in that Seder, we have to understand the connection that one leads to the other. Okay, repeat the question. There's two questions here, basically. And what are the two questions? First, the Maamar establishes that what is the h'tשכ kli chemda? What is the preciousness of the Torah that's called the kli chemda?
It's the tools of Hashem to create the world.
The tool by which God creates the world. That's both Girsois, whether it's spelled out or not. That's what it means is explained by the Rav, by Batanura, and Rashi. So the Shaila is, Imken, why
are we praising the Torah with this aspect of it? Especially when David HaMelech.
What aspect is it, and what should we be praising Torah with?
Well, the aspect of how it relates to the world, when Torah is really much higher than Shaykhis to the world.
What's say the psukim? V'haya etzlei omun or shashoyim lefanav. And David HaMelech, in fact,
he called the Torah as Zmirais, and he got punished.
Because Zmiris, you said the Zamar Aritzim and Zmiris take comfort in the Beis Sorosai. He was punished. What was the punishment?
But he forgot.
The punishment that Uzi died. But what happened? That ever since, just repeat it in Tanya. How did his mistake manifest itself? And what halacha did he forget?
The halacha of not. You have to carry the aron on the shoulder.
Because the shoulders, the chitzeni is the acharaya. And the whole point is the aron that should permeate, that the pnimi should be revealed in the matter. And he is focusing only on the chitzenius. He separated. He didn't have the aron on the shoulder. He put the aron on the card, which was reflective of his whole midas. So now the question is,
why are we focusing on this in the Mishnah? This
this
aspect of the Torah, how it relates to the world only,
that's not a praise.
right? And not
Really?
praising the Torah for its elevation, its
That we
the
bring into
time
the
that-
world,
yeah.
and of
Some
course,
time
believable.
that's in the world.
And the second question,
Why is he Chavivin Yisroel? Sheniver B'Tzelem. Why does that come before Torah?
Tzelem, Banim, and then
there's three things. And what's the hemshech of the three things? One,
Tzelem,
Adam.
Adam,
Tzelem,
Yisrael, Torah.
Right.
What's the hemshech of the three? Yeah. Yuvan back them is base. Yuvan back the Mamavu b'Mayim Chakad b'Marashav Nishmasid b'Maschach Viv Yisad Chashvish Tafresh Mem Vov. We'll understand this by prefacing the Maimar of the Rebbe Rashab. It begins with this Mishnah too of Shavuos Tafresh Mem Vav. Lifnei Shmonim Shana 80 years before 1966, which would make it when? 1886. Yeah. Shekanida. It appears as the Rebbe Meyusad al Divrei Maschal B'Chakes Lechat Chavav, that his Maimar of the Rebbe Rashab is based on the Maimar of Rebbe Marash of Chavav Lifnei Meir Shana, which is 100 years before this today. Ladmo Marash v'Shayich, and that itself goes back. Gam Divrei Maschal Chavivin Yisrael not Tzemach Tzedek. That's connected to the Maimar of the Tzemach Tzedek and Eira Torah, which is also timely because Sheyotzel Eir Za'ata was just published now. So it's all very timely. 80 years ago, 100 years ago, and that Tzemach Tzedek's Maimar is just published. V'alov meyusadim, and the Rebbe doesn't want to end it with this. He's embracing the Fidik Rebbe, Gam Maimar Chakad Merev Chamayad Mur. And on this Maimar is also based Maimar of the Fidik Rebbe. So it all goes back to the Tzemach Tzedek. So in understanding the klichemda, the precious utensil with which the modern tradition was based, Pirush there are two explanations. Let's see. Pirush Aleph, number one, through Torah the world was created. Like we said before, we quoted earlier, Hanal, HaTorah Medes, the Torah says, this is how the Medes explains the Pasuk, I was the tools of Hashem, like a king of flesh and blood, when he builds a palace, he doesn't just have the image and start building. Ella difterois or pinkasois. Difterois means charts. Pinkasois means books, papers.
blueprints,
Blueprints.
blueprints.
Blueprint. Yeah, that's the usual translation of blueprints. But yeah. Yesh leila das. So he has this by which he knows how he's going to make the rooms, etc. Kacha Kadosh Baruch Hu mabit b'Torah. So too the Eibishter looked into the Torah of Beides and created the world, or Kamaima, like it says in Zohar. He's quoting it from two sources there. He's quoting it from Medrash and from the Zohar. He's talking about the Eibishter looked into the world, to the Torah and created the world. That's one Piddush. Well, Piddush Habeis and Mashakos for Shabbai Divrei Ilah, but the second Piddush of the Mishnah. That it's a kli chemda, that you created the world. Second Piddush, shekol amechuven mebriyas ha'olam, the whole intent from the creation of the world. What's it all about? B'shvil HaTorah. So this is the opposite. The world serves the Torah. First Piddush is the Torah serves the world. It's the blueprint, as you say. And the second Piddush is Shebai Nivra Ha'elam, means for which the world was created, rather than with which the world was created. Kamei Barazal, like the Gemara says in Shabbos, about why we say Yom HaShishi, the definite article before the Shishi, which we don't say, the Torah doesn't say, but the other days of creation, because Hashem made a condition with creation. If the Eden will accept my Torah, good. If not, it reverted all to nothingness, to void and nothingness. And like the pasuk expresses this, the pasuk in Yeshaya, Hashem says, I made the world, and I made the man upon it. Creation was all for man, and man was there because of barasi. I created it. Adam alel barasi, in that word barasi is the remes, the hint. Gematria tarayag, 613. Beis reish aleph taf yud 613. The whole point of creation is that mitzvah should be performed by neshamas in bodies. Furthermore, and now another medrash, the Torah concludes, these are the chronicles of heaven and earth. What's the Eila? Eila, these, this creation, in whose merit does it stand? In whose merit does it endure? In the merit of the Eila. What's the Eila? The Eila Shemais B'nai Yisroel. And these are the names of the Eden that went down to Mitzrayim. The medrash continues, and these, who, why, what's their merit? What's the justifies their existence? Why are they here? Meaning Eden. These are the Eidos HaChukim, which is in the Parshas Veschanon, that the Torah concludes with the din that Moishe conveyed. It's not finished. This is all could be from the Tzemach Tzedek, all of these rayas, in explaining the second Piddush, and that's also what it says. And Rashi brings it Bereshis. What's the Bereshis? Beis Reishis, two beginnings. B'shvil Yisroel, Shenikah Reishis, the world was created before Yidden are called Reishis. Reishis Bikuri. B'shvil HaTorah Shekras Reishis, and Torah is called Reishis, also called beginning. So the second Piddush is Parish Klichemda Shabai. Now the meaning Klichemda is, why is it precious? Shabai Bishviloi. The Torah is precious because of it, Nivra and the world was created. The whole purpose of the creation of the world is Torah. Shenitna Yisrael, which is given to Yidden. Chavivin Yisrael, precious are Yidden. Shenitna Lev Klichemda. We're given this precious vessel for which the world is created. And you need Yidden. Torah alone is meaningless. But it was given to Yidden, this Kli Chemda, because they, through them, they carry out the intent of creation by what? Learning Torah and doing mitzvahs. Yeah, clear? That's the second Piddush. Let's go further. Gimel. Okay, summarize the two Pirushim in the words. What are the Pirushim are in which words? What was explaining? It doesn't appear in our Girsa, it's in the Machzavitri, but again, it's the intent of our mission as well. But what are the words he's focusing on?
Klichemda? Klichemda? There is a klichemda?
No, the focus is Shabai Nivra Eila. Yes, Klichemda Shabai Nivra Eila. In some way, there's two types in Shabai Nivra Eila.
Or it's used as a blueprint for the
Torah is the means by which God created, and the second Piddush,
The whole world was bishvil.
That the world is created for Torah, and all of the psukim, Mamar Chazal that he brought to convey that. Good. Gimel Maktim Lezeh, and the Tzemach Tzedek is Maktim Lezeh. I'm sorry, the Mishnah prefaces the Mishnah. It's all based on the Tzemach Tzedek. The Mishnah prefaces before it talks about Torah. It says Chaviv Adam Shniva B'Tzelem, precious is man, made in God's image, and then Chavivin Yisroel Shtikad B'Lamakim, and then precious are Yidden who are called Hashem's children. What is the Indian here that all leads up to this? So this that Yidden are called precious because they're Hashem's children. So which part of that is us? So Koyal never shall kiss, that's the neshama. The godly soul should never shouldn't be so the second neshama. That the neshama is drawn from Hashem's very thought and chachma, like the child, the seed originates in the brain activity in the brain of the father. Tanya explains in Tanya. That's a whole sugya. Yishkin Pasha the sugya, but that's, as we all know, that is Tanya Perek Beis. So children, because we come verily from the thought and mind of the Father. Chaviv Adam, now going back to humanity, Shnivra B'Tzelem, which we share with humanity. Precious is a person that's made in God's image. That's Koyan Nefesh HaSichlis Nikras Tzelem. So this refers to the Nefesh HaSichlis, which is called Tzelem. Now I didn't look up the Torah, but in Pashtus, we're talking here about Seichel and Midas. That's a form. That's the form. So Chachma, the 10 Sfiris, are the Eibishter expressing himself in a form, in a tzir, in a system. So that's the Tzelem. Tzelem also means a shade, right?
Tzel, yeah.
Because why? What do you think the connection is? Or a shadow with Tzelem, a form.
Tzel is a shade.
Yeah, what's the connection?
Gates Almoves, Tzel is the shade. First, say it goes on because the spheres eclipse, they shadow the pshitus of Ein Sof. So, at any rate, he's emphasizing here the idea of the form. That a person, the pasuk says, should walk in the way of the tzelim. Meaning, this is the pasuk until him, yeah. Meaning, he looked at Nefesh Halikis. How does Nefesh Halikis engage, walk? That's the Adam. But Nefesh Habahamis, how does it engage Nefesh Habahamis? They begin to tell him. The Nefesh HaSichlis, Alteba says this, Nefesh HaSichlis is the intellectual soul, the thinking, the consciousness. That is the intermediary between the godly soul and the animal soul. That's the Pshat. But Tzelem is Halech Ish. That how does he go and engage? A person's called the Mahalach. How does a godly soul engage and traverse the world, B'chlal, but engage the body? It is through the Tzelem. The intellectual soul, consciousness, is the intermediary which fuses and connects the godly soul with the animal soul with the body. So we continue Be'ez Hashem tomorrow.